Celebrity Book Club. Who's that knocking at the door? It's all your friends, you filthy whore. Your husband's gone and we've got books and a bottle of wine to kill. It's Hollywood. It's books. It's gossip. I'm shook. It's memoir. It's martinis. It's Studio 54. It's Celebrity Book Club. Come read it while it's hot. Celebrity Book Club. Tell your secrets, we won't talk. Celebrity Book Club. No boys are allowed. Celebrity Book Club. Say it loud and proud. Celebrity Book Club.
Buzz me in, I brought the Cuervo.
Hey, best friend.
What the freak is up, Stephanie Phillips-Horst?
Hello, my redonkulous hornculus. It's so good to see you. I know we're isolated due to COVID once again.
Once again, my girlfriend, not friend of the pod, finally got COVID.
Late to the game.
Literally late to the game. She got really like small batch, chapbook, indie COVID.
You know, we live and
Whatever,
learn.
we live and learn. So before we recorded, I was like, let me take you for a really secluded walk to kind of get you moving. And so I took her to this salt marsh trail that I recently discovered in Marine Park. And
Oh, gorgeous.
again,
This sounds like the kind of place that like a woman jogging at 5 a.m. finds a body.
it's so body, it's so murder. She was like being like, this is not cute. There was like trash everywhere. It was like the most murderous trail anyone can ever take. We came upon literally in this, we get to start seeing the water like within the marsh, and like there's just a woman in a
Within the
huge
mash.
hat digging in mud in the mash alone. With a
What?
bucket.
You literally saw someone digging
Literally
a
saw
grave,
someone
a shallow grave for someone they just murdered?
And then we came upon a fully abandoned, rusted, old car filled with rocks.
It's terrifying.
And yeah, she was kind of like, this is weird and sketchy.
This sounds like this movie I watched on Saturday. Yeah, that's right. I'm a film buff.
Okay.
And I watched this movie called The Night House with Rebecca Hall from Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And it's this movie about her, like, her husband dies and she's living in this, like, kind of modern farmhouse on a lake. And then she discovers that there's, like, an identical, like, house that's in reverse being built on the other side of the house.
Okay,
And it's kind of like an
spooky.
architecture thriller.
Okay, well, speaking of architecture thrillers,
Yeah. Wait, this book is an architecture thriller.
I've been reading it for a few days, and it is a ride and a half.
So the book we read, it's by a little someone that, oh, maybe you've heard of him. Sorry, he's only one of the top.
Interior designers in the country.
Nate Berkus. Hello. His book is called The Things That Matter. And honey, it's a tome. Okay, this is a coffee table book. I've got the Dead Tree version over here. It's quite heavy. And of course, I demanded that we read this book this week because I was like, I need something easy.
And I had suggested this Drew Barrymore book, but the only copy, well, one, The Strand lied to us. And yes, I'm calling out The Strand. They said they had a copy, and then they didn't.
No, I mean, this Strand wants to cash in on this old New Yorker Patti Smith cachet where everybody's like obsessed with them and they're constantly doing a fundraiser to save the Strand. And it's just like, where's the service? All you sell is like Star Wars socks and then lie about books that you don't even have in stock.
Anyway, so you were like, oh, Lily, we need you to do pictures. And so I was like, okay. So I got the Nate from the library to check it out. And then I feel like I got already so deep in it. And I was like, well, this is fully a book, Stephen. Get ready. But like, we have to do it because now I'm reading about how his partner died in a tsunami.
Which I knew, and that was one of the only things I knew about him is that his partner died in the infamous 2004 tsunami. Then, yes, we get the book, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of text in here. Like, there's a lot of gorgeous pictures, but it's not Ellen's book where it's just, like, mostly pictures of her being like, this is my 11th house that I bought. Like, this is really his theory of, kind of his theory of design. Definitely his being a faggot growing up and, like, how being gay makes you an interior designer is, like, a huge theme of this book.
It's like how to be a faggot. I also kind of thought I was going to be like instantly like roasting him and being like, oh, this faggot. But then like pretty fast, I was just like, I am you. And
I am you. And I'm sobbing at this incredible story of tragedy and how poignantly he's telling it. And for those of you who don't know, like, Nate Berkus is famous because he was kind of Oprah's, like, gay. And so he was brought on the show a lot, really near the height of Oprah's, like, influence over this country. Hapo Studios. And so he's kind of a Chicago-based person. Obviously, Oprah's Chicago-based. And that's how he really became super prominent. And then, you know, had already launched his own design firm. And then I think he had his own show for a while, like the Nate Berkus show or something.
He got his own show because there's a shift in the book. So basically this book is like how he became a designer, how he's like so fucking gay. And and the beginning is so amazing. And he's just like talking about how he's like, for my 13th birthday, my parents gave me a bar mitzvah gift better than any other gift. And it was to renovate their basement.
He got to renovate their unfinished basement and turn it into his like own bunker. And he made it this like insane, just like 80s like conversation pit. And it was like so many reds and blacks.
And polka dots. And it's a very that Instagram, the 80s interior.
It's like, very that Instagram.
And he's like, well, most kids were, you know, running home to like look at a Playboy or like play matchsticks. Like I was running home to check if my new countertops arrived. And I was like, where were you like ordering from like these insane warehouse catalogs?
And the parents are giving him a countertop budget for also like countertops in a bedroom. It's kind of crazy. Although you might remember do you remember my high school bedroom? I fully
had a built-in
like, this, like,
desk.
I had a built-in desk that was like this insane wraparound full Staples ass workstation.
It was so crazy. Raymore and Flanagan Staples. It was like cabinets, and it was like different drawers for laptops, and just like so many drawers for you to like. And then wasn't there a step to your bedroom, or am I thinking of former guest physical therapy's brother's bedroom? That like had
yes, his brother's bedroom had this very 80s like a bed on a platform like on a big like fuck pyramid where you would like step up the carpeted steps. But I did have countertops. The first introduction to his mom, my mother had and has to this day an unbelievable sense of scale.
Right.
Just to refer to your mother's sense of
like,
scale.
Oh, she has an amazing sense of scale. If you pick up this amazing coffee table book, drink every time he literally says flea markets, because it's every other word. And he's like,
he loves to comb the earth.
Comb the earth, whether it's France, the East Village, Madagascar.
Yeah.
And he's like, the best thing, he's like, it's funny. My mother was so surprised when I told her I was gay. And it's like, they spend classic, like, she's so in denial. They spent his entire childhood, like, going to flea markets.
I think we can all imagine a mom, because his mom is an interior designer. Any interior designer mom is obviously going to be so obsessed with herself that like she's not even noticing that her son is a faggot.
And she's like, oh, he has gorgeous style. And she's like choosing drapes. And she's like, Nate, what do you think of this one? He's like, I hate it, Mom. And she's like, oh, it is dreadful. But like not thinking at all that like why he's there at the drapery with her.
So then the father was the founder of the National Sports Collectors Convention, which
is
the most insanely specific like 80s like traveling businessman job to have, where it's like you founded a convention where people like trade like Ken Griffey bobbleheads.
I will
with
say
each other.
this, the sports trading industry was so much bigger, the 70s, 80s, 90s. I used to go to this store, the Card Dog. The Cad Dog, the Cad Dog, and it was,
and you would pretend to know about like Wayne Gretzky stats.
Well, and it so matches, I feel like, my personality, because I was so, you know, I would buy all my Wayne Gretzky and Ken Griffey cards there, but above it was a furniture store called Sozio that sold retro dinette furniture. And I was like, one day I'm gonna have a retro dinette for only $12.99 from Sozio.
Oh, am I going to have the matching end tables?
And if only baseball cards, that's the thing, baseball cards are hardly worth anything. If only my Ken Griffey cards were worth anything today, then I could buy the Sozio set.
The Beanie Babies craze all over again. I mean, darling, it goes back to tulips in Amsterdam. I mean, there's always going to be a craze. Don't fall for it.
And so, you know, it travels. Nate's, you know, he's in high school and then he goes to college and he's like, oh.
So wait, so let's talk about how he goes. I want to ask you.
Yeah.
So we went to Cushing Academy, which is kind of North Central Mass.
Yeah, which I've heard of people going there.
I was trying to figure out if we know anyone who went to Cushing.
Cushing. Part of the VIP
you're
lounge.
Cushing alum.
Because I know we have some mass holes in the Slack in the VIP. And by the way, if you're not part of the VIP lounge yet,
Oh, honey, get in there.
Get
we
in.
have a crazy session today.
Today
with,
is completely mad, Youngmi.
We have Youngmi Mayer, formerly of Mission Chinese, and she drops some dirty tea. And we really like lay into a lot of the restaurants in New York in a big
There's
way.
a reason why it's paywalled. So get in there and don't tell on, I don't know, don't be a narc, but get in there.
Yeah, don't be a narc, but get in there and like get the tea. Okay, so he goes to private school in New England. So he's like, whatever. He's from Chicago, outskirts of Chicago, like doesn't necessarily, outskirts. Suburbs, some might say.
Yeah, the outskirts. Suburbs, also some
like
might say.
Such a boxcar child.
Something was also very Chicago to me about like being a mom interior designer in the 80s, like this huge book. Can't you say like what? Because like Chicago's very like business in this way, and like 9 to 5 buildings,
sure,
like
yeah.
stilettos
Buildings.
stomping, and it's like this woman. She has this big binder full of fabric swatches, and he's like running behind her in this little navy blazer trying to keep up.
It's. I'm thinking for that. Remember that horrible movie Mother's Day that's so amazing with Julia
yes.
Roberts. Isn't like Reese where somebody in that movie is an interior designer, and even though it's set in like 2009, like she's still having like a binder and being like, I'm doing my big presentation, and she's pulling out like so much foam core.
That may happen in Mother's Day, but I think you're thinking of Home Again, which was directed by Nancy Meyer's daughter.
Oh wait, that's the movie I'm thinking
Yes.
of. Wait, that movie was so bad. That was her daughter making a fake Nancy Meyers movie.
And that was even too bad for us, I think.
Yeah. It was just like, this is too far. Like, I will watch anything with a woman in it, but this is almost too far.
And Nate Berkus brings up how he misses collages. In the book, he's like,
remember how he missed this collage.
I think he's like, talks so, anyway, we'll get into this, but he goes after kind of describing his life and the horrible tsunami. It's sections and chapters of people's homes he's decorated and loves. And like one person has like fun. He's like, oh, what happened to like cutting up photos of your best friends and putting them on foamcore?
Oh, yeah. But of course, he's like far too precious and everything is so like perfect, like psycho OCD arranged in this way that a lot of interior designers are. So he could never do that. And he could never, but he like admires people who can have that
do
rawness. That. Wait, also, when he was in high school, his French teacher's name was Cheryl Storm.
Wait, hold on. I have the...
And he was like, and she like inspired me to like think about what could be chic.
I have the quote. Thanks to my glamorous French teacher, Cheryl Storm, who had cool earrings, wore her bangs at a very chic angle, and rocked a designer scarf over her shoulder.
But that is so true. My high school French teacher, Brigitte Telnier, like... Madame Telnier was like obviously like such a French teacher, like asymmetrical bob, leather mini skirt, like cool glasses, like, and everyone else was like such a frumpy ass like English teacher at the school. So it was like, obviously if you're gay, you're being like, wait, who is this like fabulous chica who's so divorced and like doesn't give an F?
Literally Emily in Paris syndrome.
Right, Emily in Paris syndrome. And then you're like, I mean, he is being, the first part of the book is extremely me because he's like, I love New England and like preppy, but then when I went to Paris for my study abroad year, it completely defined my personality. And you're like, okay, you're really kind of saying the quiet part loud here. Like, he literally says going to Paris on study abroad is why I am who I am.
He is so gay. I mean, obviously, but it's just like, I guess I thought he was going to be a little more of a, like, calm faggot and not just being like, yes, bitch,
Yeah.
I bought a set of 60 champagne flutes so I could drink mimosas with my boyfriend and my fabulous girlfriends.
Yeah. I'd get an idea, like maybe hanging a canopy over my bed, and before you could say popcorn ceiling, I'd be on the stepladder with a sheet, a staple gun, and a pocket full of thumbtacks.
This line when he goes to college, so he goes to Lake Forest College, so he goes back to Chicago, and he goes, I remember an overpowering need for Ralph Lauren sheets on my dorm bed. My mother told me I was being ridiculous, but I was so determined I ended up scoring those sheets on sale at TJ Maxx. Oh, he also like goes to TJ Maxx to buy special luggage to go study abroad in France.
You know, I bought my parents' Ralph Lauren sheets for this Christmas at Macy's basement.
That you renoed.
That I ran out, and I did use their credit card to buy them. But here's the thing. You can still find good deals on designer sheets at... I mean, think about like Ralph Lauren sheets is they're not like designer sheets. They're just like this...
More like
very
80s,
mid-priced
90s
sheet.
thing to have. I would say I have bought many as she did TJ Maxx. You're getting a gorgeous Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren. You're getting those name brands.
Let me read this part about Paris. So it goes, Paris was also the first time I fell in love with someone else's interior.
Oh, that line.
It belonged to my friend Maria, and my favorite room was the cavernous kitchen, complete with a huge old stove, Delft tiles, and an antique oak table on an iron base, surrounded by chairs that didn't match. There were no built-in cabinets, no Lazy Susan, nothing even remotely Formica. So it was like, he was like, wait, it wasn't so like suburban Chicago. It was like being farmhouse. And it was like the first time he thought that you could have something that was like a little bit messy, a little bit antique, a little bit off.
Right. He was like, wait, hold on. You can get an antique French chair and pair it with a lucite chair? What was the first interior you fell in love with?
That wasn't someone else's interior.
That wasn't your like built-in Staples.
It wasn't my
bedroom
built-in like Staples workstation at my parents'
with
home.
your Tomb Raider poster.
Okay, so there's two that come to mind. So one, of course, is Mike and Sue, my parents' like really fabulous friends who live in Boston South End. Never married, of course.
Wait, they never married?
No, sorry, never had kids.
Okay.
That's an insane thing to say. She's the one who is always, she asked my brother what his favorite meal was, and he was like, salmon. And she was like, your favorite meal can't be salmon. It has to be pasta with fresh tomatoes. And that's defined both of our personalities.
Yeah, that's kind of defined our lives, and that is segments.
So, but they had this wood paneled living room, and with like really and it was like, it was so like, you know, rich and studdy and like warm. And I was just like, oh my God, I never thought that you could have a wall that wasn't anything but like my parents' insane like wallpaper or like that they had growing up. And I was just like, wow, this is so intense. They also had this, it was like a bust that was mounted on the wall. And I was like, a sculpture could be mounted on the wall. I mean, it blew my mind as like a 10-year-old.
Wow.
To be in that space. And then the other one I would say was my like high school best friend, Ben, whose house, as you remember, was psycho.
That house still shakes me to my core because it was to dox.
It was like
house.
This full Miami mansion, and it was
pillars,
like in the middle of Newton,
white,
like white stucco, like crazy modern mansion, just like with like underlighting, like cruise ship lighting on the staircase.
Oh right, the light in the
like,
staircase. Like it was also the cleanest house I think I had ever seen. Like I'd never seen
psychotically clean house. Everything in the kitchen was like hidden, like, you know, so modern kitchen where you can't tell where anything is. Like Chihuly-esque like chandeliers. Like the house was insane. And it was on this like block in Newton, Massachusetts, where every other house was like a Tudor. It was like so kooky. So that was the first time. I mean, I was always like, there's something crazy up with this house, but like it definitely was like a time when I noticed design. As
my
a child.
jaw, I think that house was huge for me. I was like, my jaw dropped. I was like, oh, Miami seems like so cool, and I was so into Versace, and I was like, most parent houses that you went into that time, it's like, and Nate Berkus talks a lot about this, is like having that dark, heavy dining room that no one goes into, the living room no one lives in.
Yeah. No, I think every house that I knew as a child had an unused living room and like an unused dining room. Just dark, and everything the darkest wood and the darkest colors.
But when I think about interiors, I guess, that come to mind were probably friends of my parents. Oh, this one, who, again, a couple that didn't have children, they had a loft. They had
there you go.
This Cambridge loft, that was 2 floors, though. First floor was like this kind of crazy uneven wood. Oh, by the way, Howard Zinn officiated this couple's wedding.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow, Cambridge royalty.
And then they had like a kind of glassed area so you could see the basement floor.
That's so fab. I love interior windows. As you know, I have an interior window in my apartment, and it's fab. It's not quite that fab, but it's weird.
But yeah, it's definitely weird.
But it's like, but this goes back to, not back, but this brings up the point, which is that before, like, you know, very recently, couples with kids did not have access to like cool design lives. Like you couldn't really live in a cool house if you had kids.
Right. It had to just be like heavy in toys and disgusting. And I don't know if Nate Berkus had.
I don't think he's part of the movement that made like parents now be so wanting to have like architectural sunken like built-ins, whatever. But like that's a very recent development, which is that parents who have kids like want to be chic.
Right. I think they are allowing themselves that they can be chic. And I think that's just because of like the Wayfairism and like Tarkiness, where you're like, you can have a comfy foam and century couch.
Yeah, that's true. And like everything is more like supposed to be stylish, and that's like what's accessible to people now. Celebrity Book Club.
Back to Nate.
Back to Nate. So he goes through this horrible tragedy, and I cried at this section. Like it was so devastating.
I thought his like partner died like just separately on a trip. I didn't realize they were like holding hands in the tsunami, gripping to a pole, and he was screaming his name.
And then like he gets carried away, and he was like, and that was the last time I ever saw him.
So he also does it like, like fully Oprah sent like a search team.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, there was that point where he was like, so Oprah, like, and everyone thought it would be good if like they sent like a separate entire like federal search team from Singapore to come over via helicopter and like, search just for my boyfriend.
Yeah, it's like everyone else kind of, they can just lie dead, but it is like Oprah sending the search team to find this gay guy. But it's absolutely so sad.
And it was so crazy how fast it was like they were on like this really cute trip, and he was like, and they'd like had so many conversations about like their lives together and how they love being with each other. And then they were about to like donate all these backpacks to like
orphans.
Local children.
Well,
and he was being so like white guilt, but then being like, but like, am I being so white guilt? But then we're like, okay, we'll like do this backpack thing.
He's like, he stops at an orphanage and to like get out to give them presents. And then he stops himself and is like, no, I'm not going to do that. But he's like, but I am going to do this backpack project. So he's calling himself in and canceling himself. But what's crazy is Fernando, his RIP, his partner is like pushes him to go on this 3-week vacation where they like go to Cambodia, like go to multiple places, go to cities, go to beach towns. And Nate had only ever done like weekends, like had the BlackBerry on. He's like, you need to learn how to unplug.
Yeah.
And then he unplugged.
Because he always wanted to be available to like jump on the next freelance job. And then like he actually unplugged. And it's like, wow, the first time you unplug, tsunami.
Like actually so depressing.
I mean, it was so just terrifying where he like they're like all of a sudden he wakes up and like they're being pounded with water, and he was just like, oh my God. And like all I could think of was like, okay, just like calm down until you can get above water again to take another breath because it's going to pull you under. And it did remind me of my near-death experience on Nantucket 2 summers ago, almost drowning, where I was just like being slammed by the water, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm having less and less time to come up for air. And then the fact that they found each other like in this crazy swirling water that's moving 40 miles an hour.
They found each other again.
There's like cows and like steel fences and people and like everything is like moving in this crazy swirl of water. And then they're like clinging to this telephone pole and they like are holding each other's arms. And then all of a sudden they get like knocked again and like get pulled apart. And he's like, that's the last time I ever saw him. And then like he manages to cling to some like chimney on a roof somewhere. And then he just never finds him.
I mean, I've always said it since I was a young child. Tsunamis are my worst fear.
Wow. Okay.
So this hit home for me. And I, too.
Yeah. Growing up in Cambridge, it's definitely.
Okay. You're so tied from Clueless, though, about this one time you got caught in a rip current.
But I was in it. But I was. I mean, I did have. I mean, it was there. It was on the beach. It wasn't. I wasn't specifically afraid of like a Southeast Asian weather like event.
I remember I got caught in a rip current when we were in the Hamptons and we snuck into a beach, in our 20s, and my top came off, and then we got yelled at and got kicked out of the beach.
But were you fearing for your life?
Yeah. I was like gasping and...
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And you thought, oh, it's so funny. Lily looks crazy and topless. Yes.
Were you saying help? It wasn't like you were saying help and I was like not helping.
Well, I finally I don't think there was a way for you to help. It's like I found my way out.
The point is,
I'm sorry, tsunamis suck, and I'm sorry you had that experience, and I want you to reclaim the water because the beach is a beautiful thing.
If I were him, like I would be so fucking terrified of like beaches and water and that kind of shit.
One of the most insane things about this book is it's, and I went home and I got in bed for 3 weeks, and all I had was like the woven photographs.
No, when Oprah crawled into bed with him. And Oprah crawls into bed.
In his first Chicago apartment that he like bought and renoed, was like persuaded by his real estate friend. And he was being so like, it has amazing bones, and like I took out the walls and put in other walls. And so his parents are there. But yeah, then...
Hold on. So Oprah calls in. She crawled into bed beside me and listened while I cried. I kept asking why. It was not a theoretical question. I needed something to start making sense. She was quiet for a long time, then finally spoke. I've always believed that when the soul gets what it came to get, it goes. Wow. And then he goes, in that moment, I felt I understood what Fernando had come to get home. So it was like Fernando was finally happy. He finally found his home with Nate. And so his soul could depart via
Could go.
tsunami.
I mean, that's so Oprah, but I kind of hate that. It's
so
like his
Oprah.
his
I kinda
soul
hate it
wanted
too.
his boyfriend to go on vacation. And he was like, my work here is done.
Yeah. And it's just like,
I can now
okay, I don't know about
pass. I was gonna say also the juxtaposition of just like, so Oprah gets in bed with him, and then it's just like, I met Judy like this, and then it just goes into 12 people's houses that he's done.
12 people's houses. Yeah. I mean, he is gay. And ultimately, this book is about lamps. I mean, also, I just read this. The level of Buddha in this book. This might be the most like deeply Buddha book
I was
that
gonna
we've
say
ever read.
it's almost so Buddha, it's not Buddha.
It's so Buddha. It's not Buddha.
Okay, like,
But listen,
I brought-
there are Buddhas. There are bowls. There are so
No.
many like shallow East Asian bowls and so many things. Like this actually is a tradition from this ancient Japanese tribe. It's like everything is some like.
But it's also,
ancient-
yeah, it's very ancient, but it's also so driftwood. And it's like every
Yeah.
single person, he's like, it's actually a piece of beach glass that when I was walking with my husband came up and we said, this is the beach glass that defined our marriage. And that beach glass sits on a mantle that's reclaimed from a fireplace that I bought in China, but the fireplace is actually French.
Like, this is just a random page I just opened to. Over a decade-long friendship, he and I have ducked in and out of who knows how many antique marts and flea markets from Milan to Mexico. Like, as you said, drink every time there's a flea market. I cannot remember ever seeing Brian buy anything. I'm the guy you glare at as he attempts to stuff the Moroccan side table under his airplane seat. It's just like... It never ends with this.
It
bitch.
never ends with the flea markets. And he's like, the best friend, someone you go to flea markets with and you don't reach for the same thing.
This is like every like white person owns a Buddha statue philosophy is basically this. I like to find stuff and then put it in a more worshipful setting, which means that in his guest room, a small Asian painting he found at a Chinese flea market in Manhattan, and which he happily dismisses as a piece of junk, has been done up in a new black frame with a generous silk mat. It is on its way to dominating an entire wall. On its way to dominating a wall.
On its way.
Just like...
The people all also are such an amazing range. So it's Holly Robinson Pete's mom.
Yeah, that was a real curveball.
Same. And
The guy who The Pursuit of
Happiness
Happiness
guy.
is based on.
Wait, and by the way, you know, I saw that movie Alone in Chicago, call back to Chicago during college because it was like the middle of the day and I feel like I had a weird break in classes and I was like, I'm just going to sneak into Pursuit of Happiness, sobbed, of course, throughout the movie.
Wow. I definitely saw that on a plane.
Pursuit of Happiness, the real guy it's based on. Amazing film, check out. So
Super inspirational.
So he gets him like, of course, this guy has like more of a raw like loft, but he wants it to make it much more homey. And they get into this huge fight about this huge leather couch because obviously he's just like a big straight man who wants this huge leather
wrote this
couch.
down. To me, this was such a red flag because like that couch is actually nice and it's
Yeah.
very deep. And the fact that Nate was like against like the depth of the couch, like to me, it's like he is still this weird, like, fancy gay interior designer who likes so much, like, chintzy stuff and, like, so much chinoiserie and so much overstuffed couches, but, like, doesn't necessarily know why depth is the most important thing in a couch. And he's still just, like, a lot of the couches in this book are, like, not that deep and are kind of shallow. And, like, the one guy who wants this deep leather couch, he's like, he tried to fight him on it.
Yeah, and then he's like, and I finally got it, like, and it does go with everything else we picked, and, like, we have all these, like, amazing framed photos of, like, him with the Obamas, and, like, and he loves watching college football, but it's, like, it seems like a chic older man's leather couch.
It's definitely a chic couch. I love that couch. And yes, he did a great job of designing around it with the dark colors, like the blacks. You know, it's masculine but refined.
He also defines, and I feel like we talk about this a lot, just like interior designer challenge, don't put a weird chair in a corner or against a wall that no one will ever sit in.
What they're obsessed with doing is creating these little like mise en scènes, like
Vignettes.
these little like these vignettes. Sorry, yeah.
And I love vignettes too.
But it's like if the vignette has no purpose, if no one is ever going to sit in the chair, why is the chair? Also, they're obsessed. Like there are some shots in this book. Like I wrote one down later in Fabiola Brassicola, who we need to get to.
Yeah.
where there's a shot where there's like, I don't know, there's like 90 chairs in one.
Yeah, it's like,
And I saw this on a gay, I'll call out this gay without naming them, but like a gay I know who like they are like interior designers, like work in design kind of like, and I saw an inside shot of their house and it was like, I don't know, there was 90 chairs in the apartment. And it's just like between like the couch and the love seat and the bench and the other chair and the side chair and like the dining chair and then the desk chair, and it's like all in the same room. It's just like chill out with the 18 different forms of seating in one space.
and I think why people end up going so chair and vignette, because like it can look chic. And I think if you are, say again, at a flea market, whether you're in South Florida or Connecticut, I also was like Googling because he would reference sometimes these vintage warehouses in Stratford, Connecticut, or like Hollywood, Florida. And I was like, okay, we do need to go to this random warehouse.
We do need to get there. Well, when we have more space to decorate, I guess.
I mean, I feel like my hunt right now is, as we talked about, is possibly a sectional. Or I do want a diner banquette for my kitchen. But you're going to find a chair more at these flea markets, vintage stores. You can pick up, you know, an old stool. And he's always like getting an old stool for someone and then covering it in a vintage corduroy.
Okay, hold on. So the woman, his friend Barry, who's like really into shells and she loves the beach.
Oh, yeah.
When he describes her as a hunter-gatherer. Get ready for it. She's a hunter-gatherer, one of those diehard souls who wakes up at dawn on a sub-zero Chicago morning, grabs a hot cup of coffee, woolly mittens, and haunts the outdoor flea markets.
He also is, when he talks about his producer that moved to New York and who was so like an amazing producer, and he's like, look, when I'm interviewing someone, I don't want to know your resume. I know, can we laugh while eating a Cobb salad at 3 a.m.? Strung out from no sleep.
Bad Chinese food.
And he's always taking his friends, this one couple who's like a GQ editor at large, and the wife is like the head brand manager at the Gilt Group.
The manager.
The manager. Too excited. Brand strategist for the Gilt Group, which is so like 2010, the Gilt Group.
Yeah, it's very 2010.
Anyway, and he's like, so I took them to a Lower East Side affordable vintage shop where they got an Italian leather mid-century couch, like this credenza.
Oh, and she was so freaked out to pull the trigger on like that many items at once. And she was like
Yes.
terrified. Wait, okay, that couple was psycho. That's the couple that they work at one desk with their laptops touching.
Yes. And he and his
hated that.
He and his Italian leather chair, and her in her like more girl boss chair.
I like that to me was horror. I mean, he thought it was so adorable that they each had like this chair that reflected their gender on the shared glass desk with the laptops touching. And I'm like, the last thing I want is my lover's laptop to be touching my laptop. I'm like, get out of my laptop space. And the laptops are like heating each other. I'm just like, no, like I get maybe working in the same room as your lover if you're both like typing away on your GQ article, but just like at least not be like staring at each other's eyes.
Well, he
Like,
made
I don't
it
wanna do
seem
that
like,
with anyone.
oh, these workaholics, and they come home at night and they're still working on the Gilt Group, like emails going out in the GQ. More what I wanted to say was that, like, obviously all these Lower East Side and East Village vintage shops that he keeps on mentioning, like, are not affordable, I imagine. Like, I feel like he's referencing a vintage Italian leather couch for $4,000 as affordable.
Right. And he's like, can you believe it's not 17,000?
Yeah, as versus, I guess, like going to like 22nd and 2nd and buying like something straight from Italy.
But then some of those places in 22nd and 2nd, I mean, you're not, I don't know. I mean, a couch under $2,000 like is impossible to find unless you're going to IKEA.
That's true. So a 4K leather Italian couch, sure, it is affordable.
And like leather, forget about it.
As he makes it seem like you're getting away with like absolute murder. Okay, let's talk about Fabiola Berkus.
So one of the clients is the girl Fabiola Berkus, and I'm flipping through this book, you know, tears streaming down my face. And then I get to this woman, and I was just like, something went off, and I was just like,
I was like, wait a
we
second.
know her.
We know her.
I know this name.
After just seeing like the Pursuit of Happiness guy and like Holly Robinson Pete's mom, and then it's like Fabiola Berkus, and he's just like this fabulous like Italian socialite, and then I'm realizing like, I mean, I don't know if this is a person I've met, but it's definitely a person I've seen on Instagram with people we know.
Right. Do you have any, you can't really place her to me other than saying that we do kind of know her?
I feel like I saw her hanging out with Jeanette Hayes.
Okay.
And like at a
Maybe
big
friend of the pod, Jeanette.
Chicago native.
Yeah,
Jeanette
because I
Hayes.
see another person that we know from Chicago art school world in this like collage. He said bring back collages, and it's like all these photos of her like around New York and like being a New York gal. Anyway, so she's kind of a downtown girl, or maybe like a former downtown girl at this point.
I think
and now
she's former
sort of just,
downtown. I want to say I feel like she's kind of Hamptons, but like probably has this like NYC apartment that like she can collage in.
Okay, this quote from her, from Fabiola: "I'm not the sort of person who buys the latest L-shaped couch or who spends her days leafing through a cutting-edge design magazine." She's like, I'm not on this fucking like L-shaped sheep train of all the rest of you. I'm like, what is the maybe she's talking about like the Floyd or something. I feel like
Yeah,
that's
I think
kind of the
she's
latest
talking
L-shape.
about like our startup couches. Our Joybirds are Floyds.
So fucking Floyd. I mean, we're both so Joybird, I guess.
So
because we're fucking sheep.
We're literally sheeple.
And we're not hiring Nate Berkus to get us a $6,000 couch that's a fucking steal.
But then the woman in Marfa.
Okay, well,
I was
gonna. Now I've given it away, but I was gonna say, can you guess what my favorite house is?
Oh, I was gonna say it's the Marfa woman because it's the most like industrial minimalist. But then it's also so you because it's just like at the end of the day, you are choosy, like study abroad gay. And like he does make her like a sign that says like we love all the tacos on it.
Okay, I would never have a sink that says all the tacos on it. Like that was the one thing where I saw that and I was like, ew, this is disgusting. But then I loved how like Japanese and modern and minimalist the house was.
I know you wouldn't, but it does feel like you have like that could be your old life and like you've gotten all these like insane steel lamps and like at one point, I don't know who has it, but they're like,
oh no, wait, sorry. It says make tacos, not war.
Make tacos.
Above a farm sink. So insane in Marfa to just say make tacos, not war.
People
what
in Marfa
war,
are
babe?
out of control. It's like, we get it. You live
They really are.
in Marfa.
We live in Marfa.
There are tacos.
You've made the brave decision to be like rich and like a former artist.
And live in this like steel house.
Okay, so Fabiola is definitely like within the like adrenochrome, like DNC Hillary like circuit. Producer Meg just sent us her Instagram and she's at some event with like Nancy Pelosi is speaking, Diane von Furstenberg is like being honored.
Oh wait,
And it's very just like we are women.
I have this quote of Fabiola, which is she's not being so Buddha, but she is just being so like general bowls everywhere. The only problem, as Fabiola says, is that when you actually place anything in the bowl, like flowers, the glass hands are concealed. Sometimes I'll put a couple of green M&Ms in there, she says with a laugh, which I feel like is so insane, rich person, to be like, wouldn't it be ridiculous
if I put 3 M&Ms in this glass bowl?
In this glass bowl. Like, isn't that so old school? Like, I'm
because she wants you
grandma.
to be able to, because the bowl is like 2 hands holding each other. And she's like, she wants to be able to see the fact that it's hands. And if the bowl's full, then you can't appreciate the hilarious design choice of it being hands. This photo is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the insanity of seating. So this is Fabiola Baracasa's apartment, and we've got like a big like chinoiserie armless like chaise chair. We've got a love seat that's like a dark like pinstripe love seat. We've got 3 red leather bar stools. We've got 6 like wooden kitchen chairs. We have another like chinoiserie covered banquette seating. Then we have like another like kooky like elephant print like separate sitting chair. It's like this is all in one photo in one room.
I mean,
it's madness.
When you're rich, you gotta fill up the space.
I guess, but maybe you actually don't need to fill up the space and have it be so crowded. She also has that heinous lamp that I hate that's the like tree lamp. That's like so West Elm. Half the shit in here, I will say, looks really West Elm. And there's one where he gives it away and he says, and that mirror is actually from West Elm.
Well, I liked when he is like, and those curtains, that's from Target. And yeah, sometimes that blanket, it's from West Elm.
Okay, then there's the girl whose style is just like barn wedding, that insane like blogger girl. And she just lives in that psycho
Oh my God. And her blog
house.
is called like She Shanties or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely called She Shanties. And the whole house everything is just white gauze and like white shiplap wood and like white photo albums like all facing the same direction. Like it's so
She's
psycho.
very friend of the pod, Sim Rose, I guess, like with her insane tiny cabin. And it's like her whole thing is that she grew up homeless. And so this is her like really reclaiming a home. But it's like a crazy mountain.
What's her name? Trishelle on Chrishell.
Chrishell on Selling Sunset. Well, it's also very Pursuit of Happiness. So
she's so fucking annoying. Just before we wrap this up, can I just say something?
Absolutely.
In confidence?
Yeah.
I fucking hate mirrored dressers.
Oh my God, thank you for saying that. That to me is the most like pre-girl boss West Elm thing.
It's so ugly and crazy.
And people think it's Art Deco.
No, it's not Art Deco. It's like so tacky and crazy. It makes your bedroom look crazy chaotic. It like reflects like a little bit of like any possible like mess or anything that's out of place is gonna like show up in the crazy dresser, and it's just looking back at you with these like haunted eyes that are all the little like pegs to open the drawers. It's psycho to me.
It's like, unless it's actually this crazy thing from the 20s, but they're never not. They are more like West Elm. It's just like,
and it's honestly, I feel like I'm at a strip club when I say no, thank you.
Well, now you're sounding like Nate Berkus' mom. Okay, few quick things before we get into segments. One, it's insane because the book ends by him talking about his apartment and how he decants eggs, and he basically moves into the apartment with his boyfriend that sounds like Carrie's apartment in At Just Like That. It's like a big modern windows looking over the Hudson, like full 11th Avenue.
It's in that Jean Nouvel building, of course, you know, as like every modern celebrity loves. That's right north of the IAC building, the Barry Diller building, like on the west side.
It's like by the Whitney and
it's just like so modern, and it is so Carrie being like, where am I?
I'm floating.
Dishwasher, like where am I? I'm floating.
So then after that,
like so awkward.
It sounds like he moves to Chelsea, and he's like,
with his new Latin boyfriend Carlos,
right? And then I Googled him, so they're broken up. He is now married to someone else, and they have a daughter named Poppy.
Wait, Carlos is over?
Carlos is over.
I mean, if I were Carlos, I would break up with him reading this book because it's all about Fernando, and Carlos is barely mentioned. And it's just like, and then he's like, and then in this home, like, here's all these, like, this cloche that belonged to Fernando.
And he's like, look at
this sconce that belonged to Fernando. And like, I'm Carlos, and I mean, can we chill with the sconce?
And it's like, yes, obviously he needs to honor Fernando, but it really is like, clearly like the boyfriend he needed to get over. Fernando's like, and in a bowl I found at a thrift store in Florida of all places sits one of Carlos's like combs, a matchbook from Fernando's aunt's restaurant, like, and he's like, and there the three of us sat all together. And now he has like such a more like insane chiseled white.
I'm looking. It's a chiseled white twink, like younger, basically a younger version of himself, like Jeremiah.
And
God, Jeremiah Brent. That is the most like
insane gay name
I've ever heard. Okay.
Also, he says it. He's like, I'm not the type of boyfriend that like comes home and says like, "How was your day?" Like, I come home.
Children's names: Oscar with a K, Michael Brent Berkus. Oscar Michael Brent Berkus.
Oscar, Jeremiah,
Poppy, Oscar, Michael, Brent Berkus. Wow, the fag-atrociousness of that family, but good for them and all of their interior design work.
No, literally, he's being so Carrie here. I've always been drawn to the energy of New York City. The people let you know exactly where you stand within seconds of saying hello. You're never more than a 22-minute subway ride from dim sum or tapas.
Okay, also, quick sidebar before we go. Dr. Ruth is my dad. She collects glass turtles.
He talks so, yeah, definitely.
And it's turtles because she's like a Holocaust survivor. And so the turtle is a symbol of like Jewish survival because it like has its home on its back, which is not really my dad's.
It also sounds like Dr. Ruth was the most challenging, but obviously he was like obsessed with it and being like, I honor you. But he was just like, she wouldn't let me get rid of anything. And like she collected board games and turtles.
Yeah, and she's a hoarder. I mean, so are my parents.
The segment flea market.
What does she wear? How does she eat? What does she live?
Where does she live?
Okay. What does she wear?
What does she wear? He's so interior designer. It's like Stan Smith, really good faded pair of 7 jeans and like a J. Crew sweatshirt.
I think he's a little bit more Levi's straight like 511s and like Levi's tee. And then like
full Levi's
tee and then
head to toe Levi's.
No, and then like a button down from like Rag & Bone or like some store that's called like Legionnaire.
Yes, it's
like,
really nice Rag & Bone, but it's in that designer style. I think it's like really good basics.
Yeah, but definitely nothing oversized ever. Everything is pretty fitted.
Yeah, I guess I was saying with the jeans, like they're not like skin tight where I think Jeremiah probably wears skin tight jeans.
Yeah, that's why I said 511s.
Right, but you
are not skin tight.
They're not skin tight. It's true. That was my classic go-to for quite a while.
What happened?
I went a little more dad fit. I was like, let's go a little bit baggier.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Urban Outfitters, dad fit.
Dad fit. Yeah, like total dad 90s. Anyone?
I'm sorry, but our dads had the best fucking style. Like, no one's ready to talk about it. Like, I'll come out and say my dad's my style icon. Like, I love fucking raiding his closet when I'm home, okay? Hell yes. What's up with my parents, like, not knowing the Wi-Fi password? I mean, come on, guys. Like, well, dude.
This book is also so that SNL skit where they talk about going home for Thanksgiving and that whole thing about bowls and how parents have bowls everywhere.
Parents have bowls everywhere, yeah. I mean, yeah. Interior designers are just like,
bowls, vase.
There's a bowl.
What made me, I feel like I need to reconsider in my life when I'm like at a flea market, as I love to do, is like, I feel like I do need to be more searching for like an edge of a fireplace that can be turned into a cheese board.
Yes, you need to think about repurposing objects more and have that imagination that only a Chicago gay
A to see it.
Chicago gay. Okay, what does he eat?
Eat Cobb salads, because he mentioned Cobb,
yeah.
Chicago, Cobb. I think
Chicago dogs.
I mean,
he's obviously a citizen of the world. Are they being so like, let's do Egyptian tonight?
Yeah, I think it's Egyptian tonight. I think he's also does like totally vegging out. He mentions having friends over for pad thai and like why you need a great table, whether it's to work on or to have
He's
pad
definitely
thai.
like portion control, I feel. Although I kind of get the sense, I'll just say it, that he's the top.
Yeah, he's definitely the top with Jeremiah, and
so I think that means that he is a little bit more like having a little bit more pad thai, and maybe
thai?
like is okay with pad thai, and maybe he's getting a little bit of a waistline, and that's okay because he's the top.
And I think in this Chicago way, like he's like, I love deep dish. It's my hometown, but is portion control, like has like one slice and is like, yes. And then like puts it down is like, that's the one slice.
And he's having a burger and then be like, we're paying for this tomorrow.
And
it's
has a trainer and he's like.
He has a trainer, of course,
right.
that he sees like 4 days a week.
And they work out at like 5 a.m.
Okay, how does he live? I think we've covered this.
Yeah, how does he live? But I guess the question is, how does he live with Jeremiah? And I think Fernando's things are still around, but I think they're like, I'll
tell you what, the Carlos's comb is probably long
No,
gone.
that bull, it's not Jeremiah, Carlos, Fernando.
Just monuments to every ex.
You know, and Jeremiah's like, oh, I love these woven photographs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the tsunami death has to like play a role because that's pretty key.
But now they do have kids, so it's like, I feel like there's like organic popcorn also in there, and like they're cooking with their kids and like making
kernels of organic popcorn that they're like homemaking.
Yeah, they're like popping organic popcorn.
and like Poppy and Oscar are being like, Daddies, can we have organic homemade popcorn again for movie night again? Daddies. And they're like, yes, little kids, like get up on your little Jean Prouvé step stool and fill the antique pot that we got at a flea market in Shanghai
in Florida
with organic kernels for your popcorn.
And
snack.
he's learned to like not be too worried about this like antique bowl breaking. If Poppy,
because they can always go to another flea market outside of Chengdu.
He says he's not done with flea markets yet, but he's like, I want to come to a point in my life where I just focus on the things that I love.
Right, the things that matter.
The things that matter. Which brings us to Who Are You in the Book. Obviously, we are both Nate in ways.
Okay, but I am his producer friend, Corinne.
Oh.
The one who moves to New York. Because, do you remember?
I was going to say, 'cause when I was thinking about it, I was like, is Stephen Corinne? And I was like, Stephen isn't Corinne because I just like, I don't think you're as like, oh, I'm just getting this random apartment on 37th because it's close to the studio.
Okay, but hold on, because there is this part where, because she was kind of like bitchy.
Yeah, like I could say like maybe like she has like kind of your sense of humor, and again like Cobb salads, and he's
really
like
reading into this.
I think you're like a mix of Marfa Woman, his mom, and Nate. How do you relate to Corinne?
Okay, wait. She grew up in New York, spending summers and weekends between houses in Montauk and Nantucket. And then she still visits her mother at the cottage in Nantucket whenever she can. So the mother living on Nantucket really spoke to me. And her great-grandmother was a copywriter, darling.
Oh! Mad Men.
So I feel like, so she's kind of this like Mad Men descendant. I mean, I'm not a Mad Men descendant. I'm more of a copywriter myself, but it's just like that element of just like, I'm a copywriter gal about town, the mom in Nantucket. Like, I don't have time for this, you know?
Right. Like your style is a little more the Marfa woman where it's like you want these
Agreed.
Concrete floors and like low couch, but you're
I
not.
hate Corinne's girl boss style with the brass lamps. This is disgusting.
And she's so like mirrored. Oh, everyone in here, everyone's style is just big coffee table book stacked also with a bowl and a vase.
Well, I think that's Jonathan. I'm about to call him Jonathan Adler. Sorry, Nate Berkus.
That's right. He's just, that's so interior designer. Be like,
that's all interior designers do is stack big coffee table books. And now I have another one.
Right, to stack
of the
up.
Things That Matter by Nate Berkus. Okay, I do, yeah, but my style is more Marfa chick.
Okay, do you think
You think you're a Pursuit of Happiness guy because you want to watch football?
I
with
think
the guys?
I'm actually more Dr. Ruth Pursuit of Happiness, Nate Berkus combo. I'm Dr. Ruth because it sounds like she's a little like hoarder, and she has like
yeah, she can't say no.
and I feel like I'm Nate Berkus because I'm like always at like a Florida flea market, and Pursuit of Happiness guy because I'm like, well, I do want to like watch TV on this big couch.
Yeah. Okay, one more thing before we go. I just wanted to make this point, which is, I forget. Oh, this is the Seashell Woman, but where he puts the chalkboard on the mantle.
Oh my God, yeah.
Rich parents love chalkboards. It's insane. And like, that's the one thing that is now in every like designed rich parent's house is a chalkboard that like the kids can add to, and you can like write the shopping list, but
it's
also
casual.
just like doodle on. It's casual. It's fun. It activates the space.
I used to clean for a couple that was like really trying to have a baby, and I knew this because snooping in their home, I guess. And it felt very, we're trying. And it was kind of like this raw Clinton Hill loft. And they had this big chalkboard where they like wrote the menu of what they were going to have that night on it.
Oh
that
my
almost
God.
felt like even more tense because the baby wasn't there yet.
That's so
And it was just being
Just
like Brussels sprouts.
Oh God.
And that's part of how parents now
Giving me the
think they
heebie-jeebies.
can be fun. Is chalkboard culture.
It's chalkboards. Just let it go with the chalkboard BS. Okay, well, this book was a journey.
Such a journey.
I honestly, it truly surprised me. I give it 4 out of 5 sconces.
I give it 4 out of 5 flea markets. It's emotional, but it's fun, and it's it's a coffee table book, so you can pick it up. The first part,
Pick it up and leaf
through it. Good diversity of random ass people that he designed for you, where it's like,
Yes, I will say I wish there were more diversity of style, I guess.
yes.
And maybe even like of type of home, because most of these are apartments and then there's a one Marfa home, but I wish he did more
there's
like...
the insane like cabin woman, but I'd want to see like a huge beach house.
Yeah.
And not just
I'll
kind
see
of the same like big New York apartment.
Yeah, I'd love to see, a Mediterranean style Southern California mansion with an attached casita. I would love to see a Northwestern lodge. There's other things in here that I
would
think
love
you
to
could
see,
do.
I guess, what he's done to Oprah's place.
Yeah, but I guess that's like confidential.
Right. Too many NDAs. Next week, we're going to be reading a book called Frontier Follies, written by the one and only pioneer woman. You know her from the Food Network, Ray Drummond, or as Stephen calls her,
Ray Drummond, and she marches to the beat of her own Drummond. And stay tuned because there might be a very special surprise in that episode. Well, I mean, obviously you'll be listening next week because you're obsessed with us.
And stick around
For the VIP lounge right now, we're going to be joined by Youngmi Mayer, famous comedian and restaurant expert.
host of the Feeling Asian podcast.
And we're going to get
Really
into
into
a
it.
lot of topics, including talking some shit about the New York restaurant scene. Stick around.
Best. Hey,
Chica. Welcome to the VIP lounge. Thank you all of our sexy subscribers for getting in here with us. Sorry, no, go ahead, Lily.
Oh my God, I was just going to say hey to you after talking to you.
Right, no, we've just been speaking for an hour, but let's keep talking. I'm so excited because we have a special guest in our VIP Lounge today, which is rare, and not just any guest, but the most special of guests.
One of the most special, a New York icon, my former student, your former classmate.
Podcaster, chef, mom, sex symbol, downtown icon.
Yeah, literally probably coolest mom in New York.
Comedian.
Coolest podcaster in New York.
TikToker extraordinaire. Of course, we were talking about none other than Youngmi
Mayer.
Host.
Woo!
Hi.
Host of the Feeling Asian podcast, but that's just one small piece of a much larger picture.
Host of also the Hairy Butthole podcast, Youngmi. Welcome. Tell us everything.
Hi. How are you?
Hello.
Can I say that you mispronounced my name?
Yes.
Okay,
call us
fucked
in.
up.
But you mispronounced the white part. It's my last name is Mayer.
It's Mayer.
Oh, like John Mayer.
Just like John Mayer. I guess funny. It is spelled like that. And that was just a taste of the VIP Lounge. Subscribe on patreon.com/CBCthepod to get more content like that every single week for only $5 a month. Again, that's patreon.com/CBCthepod. For $5 a month, you get access to the VIP Lounge every single week. That's more Stephen and Lily every single week for only $5 a month. VIP, subscribe. Celebrity Book Club is presented by Prologue Projects, which is bright and light and airy and filled with vintage objects. The show is produced by Meg Murnane, who comes from Basque Country, and it has editorial support from Leon Nafak, who I actually found in Patagonia. Andrew Parsons and Madeline Kaplan also do some of the producing. They both are covered in hand-knit blankets as we speak. Our production manager is Percia Berlin. She comes in both ivory and ecru. Our original theme song is by Sim Phillips Horst. I actually found him at a flea market just outside of Paris. Artwork by Teddy Blanks, who just loves to buy curry at Malaysian bazaars. Follow us on Twitter at CBC The Pod. Subscribe on your favorite podcast app, which should be available in any number of small fishing villages throughout the Yucatan. Leave us a review, and don't forget to tell any of your friends that you might have met on your various travels about us. There's just something about a podcast that really tells us who we are. Best.